All right, welcome to another installment of the Monday Morning High Five. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Eric. We are joined by Brother Darnell, Brother Richard. We're looking at the book of Joshua, chapter 8. We're going to complete chapter 8 today, verses 30 through 35. So let's go ahead and read it. Joshua chapter 8, starting at verse number 30. It says, "At that time, Joshua built an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel, on Mount Ebal, just as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the people of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of uncut stone on which no man has builded an iron tool. And they offered on it burnt offerings to the Lord, and sacrificed peace offerings. And there, in the presence of the people of Israel, he wrote on the stones a copy of the law of Moses, which he had written. And all Israel, sojourners as well as native born, with their elders and officers and their judges, stood on opposite sides of the ark before the Levitical priests, who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, half of them in front of Mount Sephirah, and half of them in front of Mount Ebal, just as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded at the first to bless the people of Israel. And afterwards he read all the words of the law, the blessing and the curse, according to all that is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses commanded that Joshua did not read before all the assembly of Israel, and the women, and the little ones, and the sojourners who lived among them. So that's Joshua 8:30 through 30.
Okay. Um, what kind of stuck out to me was verse 35. Um, there was not a word of all that Moses commanded that Joshua did not read before all the assembly. I think it's important to really realize how all the way from Exodus, all the way Deuteronomy, all the way through Joshua, that the mission has never changed. The law never changed. It was already set from Moses going down the line to Joshua. And now that Joshua and the Israelites took over these lands, they took over Ai, the wall of Jericho fell down, and all these things that we've read about in the past week, taking over this land, and then just for it to come out that he, wrote down the law of Moses again, and he read the exact same law. It's just um, great and something to think about when you think about the fact that the main goal and the law never changed, even though leadership changed, but they still have the common goal. I remember a few weeks ago, or maybe a few months ago, when Richard brought it up and talked about coaching, and just how coaching staff, and you might, it's different when you set a certain what's the word I'm looking for? When you set a certain when there's a
Environment.
there you go. When you set a certain environment and a culture, that's what I'm looking for. Within a team, you can get rid of as many coaches as you want, but if those players, the nucleus of your team is still the same, and you just bring in another coach, you're just bringing in another way of getting it to the players. But that culture, that philosophy, that environment is still the same, and that's the same way you see with the children of Israel. Moses came to the forefront. He had the Ten Commandments. Every other law of Moses is the other way of saying it, and you get that, and all the way through until Joshua, who was different than Moses, who did things different than Moses, and who was the one that was supposed to actually lead the Israelites into the promised land. He wrote down even though Moses wasn't there to see the promised land, he still wrote down what Moses, had to say, the laws of Moses. So I think it's a dope thing to just see it all the way through these different books of the Bible, and then come in, and when Joshua, the fact that Joshua didn't change, I think that was important to me.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's a great point you brought out, and what I saw in this couple verses was similar to what you brought out and what you saw. The one thing that kept sticking out to me was how it said Joshua followed what Moses written down, you know, and that just reminded me of Habakkuk 2:2, which is where he tells them write the vision and make it plain. All right, and
Hmm.
so we see Moses wrote down what was supposed to happen, what was going to occur at this time, and Joshua is plainly able to follow these instructions. There's not any hesitation. There's not any guessing of what's supposed to occur, what's supposed to happen. But we see Joshua is able to just give out commands. All right, let's do this. All right, next is we're going to do this. And it says, like, kind of, me and Eric were kind of talking a little bit. It says, like, over and over, like, he did what was written in the book.
Hmm.
And verse 31 says, he followed the commands that Moses, the Lord's servant, had written in the book of instruction. Like, it was a book full of instructions of what to do. And because Moses obeyed, he wrote everything down and made it plain. It just makes this whole process in the children of Israel, what they're trying to do, it makes that easy and it makes it plain for them to follow. They're not trying to figure out what to do, because God is not directly talking to them right now, but they're following God's words that was given to Moses, and now Joshua is giving those commands. So that's what I saw in these couple verses.
Yeah, I just flipped back over to Joshua 1, verse 8. God, when he comes to Joshua at the very beginning, he tells him, "This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it." And
Mm,
it's like you said, the closer Joshua sticks to the book and what's written, that's his that's where he's successful. That's
mm,
where he doesn't have to worry about anything or anyone, derailing what God is trying to do, as long as he sticks to what is written. Um, and so I think all three of us kind of had very similar points. Like Darnell, you were talking about culture, and the word I mentioned with Richard was legacy. Like the thing that stood out to me in, what is it, 6 verses. You see Moses' name mentioned over and over and over again, and he's no longer there, but his influence, his impact, the impact of his ministry is still being felt. Moses is in the ground somewhere, and
Hmm.
they're still talking like this is what Moses wrote. This is how Moses did things. There's no reason to, um, they don't have to reinvent the wheel completely. Like, yeah, they need to, change some things and modify it, tweak this, tweak that, but the bones of it, like both of you were saying, the bones are there. Like, we
yeah,
have the plan, the law, it's right here. All we
yeah,
need to do is follow what is written. And God Himself told Joshua, as long as you follow what is already written, you won't fail. You won't have to worry about falling. It it'll work.
yeah,
It'll work. And I the point I was, just for us as a practical point, is like, what are we doing with the influence that God allows us to have with
Right.
people? Like, are we giving them something that, if they can stick to this, if you just follow the example you see from me, like, you won't fall. You'll be all right, and I mean, that's a tall order, that, because I mean, none of us are perfect. Moses himself wasn't perfect, but
Definitely will.
you can see, like, there was enough there. God was able to use him and his influence to be a blessing even once Moses was gone. And so, the question just becomes, is that also true for us, And even if it hasn't been previously, we still have time, hopefully.
yeah,
So, you know, hopefully it don't end tonight, but hopefully we recognize we still have time to make an impact. We still have time to leave a legacy, leave a culture of like, oh, okay, yeah, like Darnell, he had a standard and you had to match it. Like he wasn't no joke, you know. Richard, that dude, he was a bad dude, you know. Like
Yeah.
so, so yeah, that was what I saw. Not not a lot of verses, but even in these short verses, definitely a lot that we can look at and really like kind of look at ourselves and go, you know, how am I like Joshua? How am I like Moses? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mhm.
am I following? Am I leading? What am I doing? You know. So,
Right.
anything
Yeah.
else, guys?
No. I was I'm gonna have a transparent moment. I was asking. I just wanted to be clear because I didn't want to give the wrong information. Just wanted I didn't the instructions as well as the law of Moses. I was saying that the Ten Commandments and the law of Moses, same thing. They're not the same thing. So I apologize for that. So I just wanted to throw that out there as we were going. You know, that just goes to show that I didn't want to sound like I was know what I was talking about and didn't know what I was talking about. So I'll be honest today to say that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Rich, anything else for you?
Um. No. No. I think. Yeah. No. I think that was it for me.
All right, all right. Well, as always, we appreciate you all for joining us for another morning high five. We hope that the little influence that we have in this little ministry that we set out to do for you every Monday. We hope that it's a positive influence, it's a positive impact. As we always say, please share your thoughts, share your comments with us. We love seeing them, reading them. Let us know how we're doing, how you see what we're doing. So um, I think that's it. And if God says the same, we'll see you again next Monday.
Right.